As if it's all done.
This is News 5 at 5:30 with Jerry Springer, Norma Rashid, Pat Berry's weather, Ken Brew with sports, and Northern Kentucky Bureau Chief Marty Perrette.
Good evening. Another delay tonight in the Pete Rose gambling case. The answer to who will judge Pete has been pushed back for at least another 12 days.
Baseball lawyers want the case handled in federal court. Pete's lawyers want it decided in Hamilton County Court. And the Columbus judge, who has to decide one way or the other, says he won't decide until at least July 17th. News 5's Steve Forrest is in Columbus. He joins us now live. Steve?
Norma, you want a bottom line on this. It's that Pete is apparently safe through at least the All-Star game. There is no way he's going to be tossed out of baseball or even reprimanded through at least July 20th. And his lawyers are working like crazy to make sure that it never happens. Rose's lawyer, Robert Stackler, arrived at the courthouse shortly after noon, saying nothing.
No comment at this time.
But in a 2-hour private meeting, he and lawyers for both baseball and the Reds worked out an agreement with a federal judge to keep Rose on the job while they decide in which court his case against Giamatti belongs. Here's what it says. Giamatti won't hold any hearing for at least the next 2 weeks on whether Rose should be kicked out of baseball for allegedly gambling on baseball games, including those of the Reds. And the Reds agree they won't fire or suspend him while the federal court decides if it should send the case back to Hamilton County Common Pleas Judge Norbert Nadel. Bob, are you pleased that the stipulation is there?
Yeah.
Until at least the 17th.
Because it preserves the status quo and it gives Judge Hirsh an opportunity to decide the case and to review the briefs and the law.
And you can go forward without any worry that Rose is going to be suspended or fired once the Judge Nadel's TRO expires.
The stipulation will speak for itself, and they have agreed not to take any action.
Now, both sides still have to file legal papers. The last papers are due on July 17th. That's 12 days from now. And then Judge John Holshoe says he will take the matter under advisement. So this matter has the potential to drag out through the rest of August, very likely into rest of July, very likely into August, quite possibly until October in the World Series. Not good news anyway you look at it. Reporting live from Columbus, Steve Forrest, News 5.
All right, thanks a lot, Steve. And we're preparing more on this latest development and local reaction to it. We'll have that coming
Pete Rose might have his case decided by federal court or by state court, that's Judge Nadel, or by the commissioner. There will ultimately be a decision maker, but some fans have already made up their minds.
I think it's obvious that he's guilty, and it doesn't matter right now anyway. So I believe it should be out of the city of Cincinnati because there's too much public favoritism towards him anyway.
The guy's been framed. I'd like to see him get off.
Other than Pete Rose and Bart Giamatti, the person most affected by this delay is perhaps Judge Norbert Nadel. I contacted the judge's office this afternoon. They had not even gotten official word of the delay from Columbus. But that delay is official, and so the judge will have to wait, along with Pete, along with Bart, along with the fans, and along with a host of lawyers. Jeff Hirsh, News 5.
To recap what's happened today, a federal judge in Columbus has decided to delay his decision on whether a federal court or a Hamilton County court will hear Pete's case. That means a hearing before Hamilton County Judge Norbert Nadel, set for tomorrow, is now canceled. Judge Nadel was scheduled to decide on a preliminary injunction.
Playing figures because of his alleged gambling habits.
Specifically with a bookie who may have been a member of the New York's Bonanno crime family. News 5 Steve Forrest is in our newsroom to tell us investigators are busy checking out this latest link. Steve?
Yeah, Norma, this gets more and more disturbing every day. Today, NBC reports that sources have identified the bookie named in the report as Val, a bookie to whom Rose reportedly owed thousands of dollars. Now, while Rose denies dealing with him, NBC says the bookie has direct ties to the mafia. NBC says this man is Val, Richard Troy, a New York bookie indicted earlier this year on gambling charges, along with 33 other men. Rose's former friend, Paul Janszen, says he placed bets with Troy on behalf of Rose. Phone records show Janszen made repeated calls to a number which Troy used in mid-1987. Even more significantly, when police raided Troy's home last October, they seized 2 phone books and a Rolodex. A source familiar with the police investigation says one of the books had the inscription Paul-Rose and listed phone numbers for both Janszen and Janszen's mother. That's important because John Dowd's report into Rose's alleged gambling says Janszen's mother got a phone call threatening her son's life unless he paid off Rose's $68,000 gambling debt to Val. The source says, quoting, "This finishes the loop, meaning it provides a final tie between Rose, Janszen, and Troy." Now, when it is interviewed with John Dowd, Rose denies knowing who Val is. That is the same interview where he admits using a bookie to place football and basketball bets, despite his public statements that he never used a bookie to bet on any sport. Norma.
And Manny continues to say he never bet on baseball.
That's right. He says he bet on football, the Super Bowl. He said he bet on the NCAAs 2 years ago, but he says he never bet on hockey, and he definitely...
To be done.
Has gotten even more complicated. Lawyers for Baseball Commissioner Bart Giamatti have just filed papers in federal court, suggesting Giamatti is the one who won't get a fair shake if the case is sent back to a county court here. News 5's Steve Forrest is live at the stadium. Steve, this is a new approach they're taking.
Yeah, definitely a new approach. The lawyers for Giamatti are fighting back very hard. They're trying to convince that federal judge in Columbus that he should keep the case and not return it back here to common pleas court. They say if the judge is interested in true fairness, it's the only decision he can make.
One way or the other.
Last night before the All-Star game, Giamatti took the hard line, saying there's no way he'll step aside as judge and jury in the Rose affair.
Bart, at any time, have you considered withdrawing from the investigation?
Me? Absolutely not. No. No.
At any time, was there a compromise solution offered to Pete Rose?
No. No.
And today, his lawyers took the hard line, saying the Rose case should be heard in a federal, not state court. They say the commissioner has the right to investigate and decide whether Rose bet on baseball games, saying gambling is the capital crime of baseball. It infects the game's integrity and sickens honest participants and fans. They're also questioning whether Norbert Nadel, the judge who said Giamatti might be prejudiced against Rose, may be prejudiced himself in favor of Rose. They cite the order from federal Judge Carl Rubin transferring the case to Columbus because of Rose's local fame and notoriety. Plainly, they say, this same local prejudice must weigh much more heavily on a state court judge who must be elected and re-elected by the citizens. If ever it were appropriate to remove a case to the federal court to avoid such local pressures, Giamatti's lawyers conclude, this, they say, is the case. The ultimate issue in the case, say the lawyers for Giamatti, is the commissioner's ability to protect the integrity of baseball. Reporting live from Riverfront Stadium, Steve Forrest, News 5.
I suspect Rose and his lawyers, of course, would disagree.
Yeah, I think that's a real safe assumption, Jerry. As a matter of fact, it's their turn now to respond to the legal brief that was filed today. Those papers have to be filed up in Columbus by next week, next Tuesday, I believe. And at that point, next Monday, rather, at that point, Judge Holshoe will get to make the final decision. Don't expect a quick one, though.